some breaking news to come out from the American Hockey League, and that is from next season, the Chicago Wolves are going to become the first team since the 1994-95 season to be independent. Now, I suppose we should explain what means independence, shouldn't we, Stormy? Hello. Everybody there. So, do you mind going down there for a second, Stormy? We'll call you back up real quickly. I just need to clarify what it means by independent. Okay? Yeah. Give me 2 seconds, Stormy. Thank you. Yeah. Because, I just need to clarify what we mean by the terms independent. Because, obviously, because not every team in the American Hockey League is actually owned by the team that they are affiliated to. So, I'm going to just get that list up. It's a list I've always wanted to try and find ever since I was... ever since I first got started with the American Hockey League when the Barracuda began in the 15-16 season. So it's a list I've always wanted to find, and I believe I've got it, Stormy. I've got lists. Right, so we have... Let me find it. Right, so we have the Charlotte Checkers, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, the Grand Rapids Griffins, the Providence Bruins, the Hershey Bears, the Springfield Thunderbirds, the Milwaukee Admirals, the Syracuse Crunch, the Colorado Eagles, and the Cleveland Monsters. They are the 10 teams that currently in the league are not owned by the NHL club that they are affiliated to, but they do have very good, strong working relationships with their current affiliates. And what the Wolves are going to be doing from next season is they're going to become the first team since the 1994-95 season, so nearly 30 years, to be completely fully independent. So they're going to have no connections, no ties to any NHL club. Which, of course, has a knock-on impact for the Colorado Hurricanes. Oh, you come back up, Stormy. There we go, love. Come back up. Where's he gone? There you go. Come back up there. This causes a massive knock-on effect to the Colorado Hurricanes, who have been the recent NHL club to be affiliated with the Chicago Wolves. The Wolves just can't seem to get a long-term affiliation, can they, ever since the Atlanta Thrashers got relocated to Winnipeg. They just have not. Because if we look at all the teams that the Wolves have been affiliated over the years, initially the Wolves were the AHL affiliate to the Atlanta Thrashers from 2001 all the way up to 2011, which of course the Thrashers relocated to Winnipeg in the 11-12 season. Then from 2011 to 2013, they were the affiliates of the Vancouver Canucks. And then in 2013, all the way through to 2017, they were the affiliates to the St. Louis Blues. That was a really rocky relationship. That was a really rocky one. Then obviously in 2017 to 2020, they were the first affiliate for the Vegas Golden Knights. And then from 2020 to this 2023, this season now gone, they were the affiliates to the Colorado Hurricanes, and it still shocked me when that was announced, in 2020, during peak COVID. So obviously, that the Colorado Hurricanes was going to be severing their ties with the Charlotte Checkers. I mean, wow. I mean, I know we all did not have a great 2020, but the Checkers, they had a really bad one. They couldn't, make a defense at their Calder Cup, because obviously we didn't have the Calder Cup playoffs. And then their parents basically severed their ties with them. It's just like, wow. So the Hurricanes have just not had a great track record when it comes to their AHL affiliates. I mean, obviously with what happened with the Checkers. And now, obviously, with the Wolves. But it's very, very interesting with the Wolves. Now, this time, the shoe is on the other foot. This time, it's not the Hurricanes who have severed the partnership. It's the Chicago Wolves. The Wolves have decided we're going to sever this partnership because we want to go alone. So, to me, I'm now thinking, well, does that mean things were more rocky with the Hurricanes and the Wolves than we realised? Because the Wolves actually, under the Hurricanes, haven't done that bad. Because in the shortened 2020-21 season, they finished first in the Central Division. And of course, in that season, only our division hosted a playoff tournament to determine their division champion. Everyone else did it by points percentage. Then, of course, last year they pretty much won it all. They literally won it all, including the Calder Cup that they've been after. And then obviously this year, wow, oh my god, the contrast this year. This year they ended up finishing 6th in the Central Division and failing to qualify for the Calder Cup. So they have been dethroned. Wow. I mean, this American Hockey League season has been so unpredictable, especially in our division. But it's been so unpredictable this year. Nowhere to start this year would I thought the Chicago Wolves potentially would not qualify. And I'm now trying to wonder, when was the last time that the reigning Calder champions got knocked out the year after they won? Do you know, Stormy? Do you know? No, I'm not sure either. Of course, I've only been with the AHL since the Barracuda in the 15-16 season, so I'm not too so. I don't know. We'll have to look it up, won't we? We'll have to look it up, and there's a terror report bed. We'll have to look that up. We'll have to look that up. Very well. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll focus on how it's going to affect you first, and then you can go away, and we'll talk about how it's going to impact the Wolves. Is that fair? Yeah, okay. Right. So, for the Colorado Hurricanes, for the short term, there's only really one way the Hurricanes can proceed for next season. That is, they're going to have to enter a dual partnership. Now, the reason I say that is because the other alternative for the Hurricanes is actually just not doable. Because for Carolina, there actually are two possible scenarios, and only one of them is actually realistically possible. The first scenario is the Hurricanes get an expansion team. Now, that's not going to happen. He's giving me a look, isn't he? He's giving me a look. That's not going to happen. Realistically, that is not going to happen. I mean, sure, the AHL has, played with odd numbers over the years, but we've done so much work this season to get the league in a really, really amazing place. You've got the magic number of 32, which is ideal for all sports league. Anything after 32, no. Cap 32. There should be a law in sports, in professional sports leagues, where get to 32, cap. Because after 32 teams, it just ends up more diluting the product, and it just doesn't seem the point. So somebody needs to go and tell Houston Atlanta that we're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going there. Because that's idle gossip. That is idle gossip. We're not going there. Yeah. So also we've got the 32 teams. We've got everybody in the E division playing the exact same number of games, which has been so hard to get done, particularly with our division. So obviously division titles and standings and playoff rate spots, they're now decided by points on the points percentage. We've done so much work to get the league this season in a really, really amazing place. I can't see them throwing that away just for the sake to give Carolina an expansion team when chances are it's not going to last. Because, well, given your track record, I'm sorry, Stormy, but the facts don't lie. Given your track record with AHL affiliates, you don't have a good track record. You don't treat them well. So I'm sorry, what would be the point of giving you an expansion franchise if it only lasts like the length of the deal you've had with Chicago, so 3 years? I just don't see that working. I mean, the only way I think you can see a successful Carolina AHL team is if the Hurricanes actually owned it. Because that'd be the only way you could guarantee that they would have a long-term future in a way. But I just can't see the league adding a 33rd franchise just for the sake because Carolina can't get its house in order. I just can't see that happening. Unless you want to add a 34th in, that's not going to work. But what's been interesting since reading about this and then coming to record today's show is, well, actually, do you know what? It could actually be doable after all, Stormy. Because the one thing you need to know about the American Hockey League, it's a completely separate entity to the National Hockey League. It doesn't have to run by what the AHL does. And because obviously in the AHL, not everybody sees everybody throughout the season. It's not like how the AHL where you get everybody playing everybody in their barn and everybody goes to all the other teams' barn. It's not like that. With the AHL, it's more about geography and you know, focusing on less travel. So you only need to travel when you need to. It's all about geography. So you only play teams that are either in your division or near your geographical area. So technically, they could do it, but I don't see that as a possibility. Don't see that as a possibility just because I'm now thinking, oh, it could, but no. So actually, technically, you could maybe see a 33rd franchise get brought in, and it only plays with the teams in that division. But I just can't really see that. I just can't see the NHL one and a 33rd franchise in, just because Carolina can't get its house in order. Then what are the chances then it doesn't last? Because we don't know how Carolina does with their affiliates. Yep, so make do of that. But yeah, so that's one scenario. That's the unlikeliest scenario. The other scenario, this is the one I think is more realistic, is that at least for next season, so the 23-24 season, the Hurricanes are going to have to enter a dual partnership. Now, dual partnerships are not great, as we saw them in the 2020-21 season. They didn't really benefit the teams that had to enter the partnership. I'll remind you how that went down, because obviously in that shortened 2020-21 season, all but 3 teams chose to compete in that shortened season. The teams that did not compete were the Charlotte Checkers, who are affiliated with the Florida Panthers, the Springfield Thunderbirds, who are affiliated with the St. Louis Blues, and the Milwaukee Admirals, who are affiliated with the Nashville Predators. So those 3 teams had to then enter a dual partnership with an existing affiliation. So, right, this is a good test of my memory now, Stormy. Let's see if I can do it. So, the Predators partnered up with you and the Wolves. Yep. The Blues partnered up with the Canucks and Utica Mark 1. Because you got to remember there's 2 versions of Utica. There's the New Jersey version, which is currently in the league, and there's the Vancouver version, which is now Abbotsford. So that was the Blues. And then the Panthers, believe it or not, had to team up with the Lightning! And the Syracuse Crunch. So, yeah. And as we saw, for those 3 teams had to enter the partnerships, it didn't end up working well. And obviously, of course, last season, the Kraken obviously still had the saga with Coach Bally and everything. So obviously, Coach Bally was not ready in time for their inaugural season last year. So the Kraken entered the dual partnership with the Panthers and the Charlotte Checkers. And obviously, this season, they now obviously have their own team for Coach Bally Firebirds. And what a difference that has made to the Seattle Kraken. Wow, Coachella, I would not expect them to have the season they had, especially, of course, as they had to literally start their first 22 games on the road. They didn't even get into their arena, Stormy, until before Christmas. And yet, here they are the second place team in the Pacific. Wow, that's amazing. And I think also that, and I think you see the difference it's made to Seattle this year. This is why I advocate having an AHL affiliation, because having that affiliation with an AHL team, it really does make a huge difference. So I would strongly recommend, because there is a third option for Stormy here, and that is you don't go with and have no affiliation. Now, that's not advisable, but that's not to say it's not practical. The only question would be, what would you have to do if you need to call up players for whatever reason. That would be the only issue you probably would have. But it's not completely not doable. It's just it's not really very practical for you, Stormy, because obviously it's more better to have an AHL patient than none at all. So I would strongly, because I cannot advocate how important it is to have an AHL patient. It's just the best thing you can have. So, now looking at, because I've got them on the screen here, Stormy, so I've got them on the screen. Looking at the current affiliations, in fact, you have to go take a look at the screen as well, Stormy. Have a look at them, Stormy. Is there any of the current affiliations that you could see yourself partnering up with at least for next season while you're trying to mull your options? Have a look. Because I'm currently looking at them and I just think, well, no, there's not really a clear option for you, love. It's not really a clear option for you. So, not really, no. But you keep looking, I'll carry on. I'll carry on talking, you carry on having a look. Carry on mulling it over. And, supposedly, if I was the other 31 clubs, I actually would tell Carlisle, you know what, I would actually tell her to go sod off. I was waiting for him to react there. He's not reacting to that. I would, if I was one of the other 31 clubs I would actually say to Carlisle, do you know what? No, look, mate, I've seen how you treat your AHL affiliation. So, do you know what? Do one. Do one. I would. But it'd be really great to see them do that and take a stand and say, no, you've made your bed, Carlisle. You've made your bed, Stormy. Go lie in it. And the glory days are now over for you, love. Which is a shame because you've worked so hard, Carlisle, to get back into where you are today. You really have. Is he still mulling it over? Come back, Stormy, because I don't think you guys we'll be here all night. We'll be here all night if you keep trying to do that. Did you get anywhere? No? Right, come back. We'll be here all night if you want to try and mull it over, try and make a decision. We'll be here all night. You've got playoff games to go and watch. Yeah, so we'll be here all night. We'll be here all night, so no, don't worry about it, I just wanted to see if you could maybe have a think, but clearly not. No, clearly not. No. Yeah. It's not really that easy, because obviously you've got to think about, would any of the 31 teams want to enter a dual partnership with you, and have their players split between them and you? And then the question is, well, how long would the partnership be? Because we don't know what's going to happen right now. And the timing of it is not great. Because we're about to go to playoffs. We're about to have the call playoffs. They're going to be really, really, really exciting this season, you know. Because this is the last we want to think about. This is what we should be thinking about over the summer when we're waiting for schedules. Not right now. We're about to have the Call Cup playoffs, and I'm really excited tournament, especially as the course of reigning champions, the Wolves, are now out. So, yeah. So your timing's not great, love. Your timing's not great. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen with the Carlisle Hurricanes regarding their situation with AHL affiliation. There are three scenarios that we brought up for you. Only one of them is doable, and that is the dual partnership. The other two are either unlikely or not advisable. So, well, and just very quick before you go, Stormy, we move on to Chicago and move on to the Wolves side of it. The Carlisle Hurricanes have stated, I did find it the other day, but I can't seem to now go on it now, the article, Stormy. These news sites today. The Carlisle Hurricanes have stated they do intend to explore their options regarding AHL affiliation for next season. So we will probably we'll probably be getting something, and of course, Stormy, you will be welcome back when that happens. And we can talk about that. But yeah, so the Hurricanes, they are going to be exploring their options, but we'll see what happens. Right, so I'm now going to focus on how it's going to affect the Wolves. Do you want to stay? No. Right, if you go there, I'll come back to you at the end of the show, okay? Okay, off you go, darling. It's been very helpful today, isn't it? It's been very good. Good boy. Right, just stay there, I'll come back to you at the end of the show. Right, now we're going to focus on how this is going to affect the Chicago Bulls, because this is a massive, massive risk for a team like the Chicago Wolves, in the league they are in, to take. It's a massive, massive risk. But that's not to say the Chicago Wolves can't do it. And I'm going to be very, very excited to see what happens next season regarding the Chicago Wolves, how this is going to affect them as a club. Now, one of the big... Because there are lots of positives to this, and there are some negatives to this. One of those negatives are your potential revenue. Because to go fully independent, you're going to have to rely on your sales and your sales only. So when things go wrong, you can't go and say, oh, it's because of Carlisle did this, Carlisle did that. No. If something was to go wrong, then the Chicago, from next season, the Chicago Wolves only have themselves to blame. They can't pin it on their AHL affiliation because they're not in one anymore. So you're going to be reliable for all the business side, all the, trying to get your revenues, getting fans through the gates. Because you do get a lot of fans, regardless whether they're involved in the AHL or the AHL, they do come to AHL games. I've seen it for first hand this year when I was at Taxi Arena. You do get variety of fans. It's not just the two teams' opponents. You do get variety. Because it also depends on your population and the people in the area, whether and who they may be support or not. Because not everybody supports their hometown teams. There are some people who will probably live in that particular state, but they won't support that particular team state because they've got ties to a number of other reasons. But we'll go there. Okay. So that's a downside, but that is a challenge that I think the Chicago Wolves could easily rise to. Now, one of the great benefits I can see that Chicago Wolves have got to going fully independent is that they don't have to worry about their parent club, so their affiliation in the AHL. They don't have to worry about them calling up players every so often throughout the season, particularly if at a key point of the year, like for example, where it gets too close to playoffs. And this is one of the things that really, really, really made my blood boil towards the end of this season with regarding the Sharks. Because what the Sharks did, because the Barracuda were in the mix to get a playoff spot. And it's really still stinks. It still stings. The players are about to start, and it still really, really, really stings that we are not there. Because we should and could have been there. I mean, obviously we would have been the massive underdogs, because obviously we would have had to play Coachella in the preliminaries, but as I've been saying, I'd rather get in the playoffs and be the massive underdogs rather than not being in at all. But what the Sharks did towards the end of the season, where it was that critical time when points really matter, is they called up William Eklund, they called up Andrea Gazzino, they called up Thomas Bordelot. And I was like, no! No, don't do that! Because their place should be with the Barracuda. I mean, they still have something to play for. The Sharks have got nothing to play for. Although some fans in Teal Town were in the latter stages were hoping for a tanking to try and get better draft lottery odds. I don't believe in that. I do not believe in tanking. And in fact, those fans should be ashamed of themselves. I don't agree on tanking. No, but their places should have been with the Barracuda. And if they were there, they could have maybe got us in. What was the point? There was nothing to play for to see the Sharks. They should have been where they were left off. And yeah, so that it really just got me like, no! And then when one got called back down, the other went back up. I was like, oh, for goodness sake, what are you doing? So yeah. But it's a story of life, isn't it? Sometimes your parents do stupid things, and which ends up either embarrassing you or has a negative impact on your life. Yeah, kids, we've all been there. Yeah. Well, that was a pure example. So that's one positive the Chicago Bulls will have from next season. So let's say next season, the Chicago Bulls are very much in the mix for the Calder Cup playoffs. They're either a few points ahead of their near of the teams on the outside, or they're a couple of points away from catching the teams that are in those spots. The Chicago Bulls then wouldn't have to worry about their star players or any other players in general being called up to the AHL because they have no AHL affiliation to send them up. So those players can be there night in, night out for the Wolves and provide for the Wolves and not to worry about being called up. Because oh my god, the lengthy list of scratches you get. Because when I was at my first Barracuda games this year, the long list of scratches we had for the Barracuda, it was just lengthy. It was either because they were either called up for the Sharks or there was the ECHL team. Whoever that is, I don't really follow the ECHL. But yeah, so that's all going to be a good positive for Chicago Wolves, and particularly Chicago Wolves fans. Like, they got a particular favourite player. They want to see. We always worry about them being called up. So that's going to be a one big positive that we're all going to be very envious of next season, especially if we're in that. We could. Then, oh no. Now another positive that this will have for the Wolves is that they could basically, because obviously they're not going to be tied down to an AHL club. What they could do is they would be open to receive players by loans from other AHL teams. So this is going to be very, very interesting. So what the Wolves could be in position of is, because obviously you're only allowed so many players on the roster at any given night. So if some teams have room for them, what they can do is they can maybe then loan them to the Chicago Wolves. And that is something they could easily do because they would not be tied down to an NHL club. They would have no affiliation next year. They're going to be fully independent. Yeah, so that's been something very interesting to see go forward. Now, what that would mean, because obviously there's a negative, because while there's a plus to that, there has to be a con to that. Well, a qualm to that, sort of, in a way. Because con's not the right word, is it? No, con's not the right word. There has to be a qualm to it. So, and the qualm would be, hold on a second. Where is it? Ah, yeah. So the clause of that would be is that they won't get any future prospects of AHL teams. So say whatever AHL teams acquired during the drafts, if they can't find room or through trade, so you can't put them on the roster, you would then sort of send them down to the AHL. That's why I can never get excited with our draft picks with the Sharks, because chances are they'll start with the Barracuda. We won't see them for quite a while in the AHL. But yeah, so they can't get any prospects. That's going to be a qualm to that. But there's plenty of players out there that all over the world that haven't got an AHL contract, and it's not really going to be hard for them to put a team together. So everybody's thinking, oh, they're not going to be a fit with an AHL team. Oh, they're going to struggle to get good players. Well, actually, I don't think that's going to be a struggle. The quality might vary because you've no longer got the AHL to fall back on to give you good top-notch prospects who would definitely make an impact to your team. But I just don't think that's a problem. Now, obviously, though, that's a big thing we need to talk about for the Wolves. Obviously, going forward, they themselves are going to have to stock the team. So they're going to have to go. So they're going to have to do basically what the Carolina Hurricanes have to do in the AHL. Scout players. Look at who you think could be a future star, a prospect in the making. Who could add value to your team. The Chicago Wolves are going to have to do that all by themselves. So becoming independent, they're going to be responsible for who signs a contract on their team. They're going to have to stop. They're going to have to completely stock the team themselves. And it'll be very interesting to see from what various leagues they bring that stock in. But that's going to be a big challenge for the Chicago Bulls going forward next season, is that you're now going to be responsible for basically filling up your roster. You're not going to have Carolina Hurricanes to fall back on because you're not going to work with them. You're not going to be tight with them. You're not going to be affiliated with any other team. But yeah, so yeah, it just feels really crazy to think that this is actually in a couple of months' time going to be a reality. Because obviously the regular season is now done in the books. We're about to start the College Cup playoffs, which is going to be very exciting. Even if your team's sadly not in it, it's still going to be very exciting. Because obviously we've got last year's ball back, which is great. And we've got some very exciting teams that are qualified. And obviously after College Cup playoffs, it's all the march towards the next season. We'll be in the summer, and obviously we have to get schedules, and then after that we can start thinking, right, it then becomes real. So yeah, so it feels crazy that in just a couple of months' time, when we get to the next season, we're going to have a team in the American Hockey League for the first time since 1994-95 that is completely 100% fully independent. So by me about of course is they're not tied to any NHL team in at all. No affiliation whatsoever. Which begs the question, will the Chicago Bulls stay in the American Hockey League for much longer? Because the American Hockey League is, even though, as I said already, it's its own separate business, at the end of the day, it is a development league, and while the primary focus is on the NHL is to develop its players so they are ready to make that jump one day into the NHL and be on an NHL squad. So the Chicago Bulls aren't going to be having that as a focus anymore, because I don't think Chicago Bulls are ever going to get affiliated with an NHL club ever again. Because when you look at all the partnerships, everybody now is in a rock solid good partnership. Apart from obviously Caroline. But you know what I mean? You look at the current partnerships, you look at the current affiliations, and everybody now is kind of in a good, rock solid place with their partnerships. So I can't see the Chicago Bulls ever entering a partnership with an NHL club ever again, because whilst the Hurricanes have not had a good track record with their affiliates, the Chicago Bulls have also not had a great track record when it comes to partnering up with an NHL team. I mean, the fact that they managed to stick with the Thrashers for a good, solid 10 years, I think that probably deserves a round of applause! Because after the Thrashers relocated back to Winnipeg, it then was on a rocky road for the Wolves. Because their longest partnership was probably the Blues, 2013-2017. But 13-14, 14-15, 15-16, 16-17. That's 4 years. How did it happen with Bakers? 2017-18, 18-19, 19-20. 3. Yes, the Blues by one season was their longest their second longest affiliation after with the Atlanta Thrashers. So, while we can say on the one hand the Hurricanes have not had a good track record when it comes to being an affiliation, the Wolves have not had a good track record since the Thrasher days of working with an NHL team. So maybe this is probably for the best that the Wolves are going to go fully independent, so that they can be in charge. They can run their front office how they want to run it, and not have to worry about their parent club in the NHL coming in and saying, well, actually, no, you can't do that. No, don't do that. No, that's not a good idea. No. Oh, please don't do that. You get the picture? Yeah. So that's gonna be a good. That's gonna be a big positive for the Wolves. But this is a question I want you to go away and think on, and maybe get in touch about. And say your thoughts. Could one day the Wolves decide, you know what, we're gonna go. Because if they're not gonna be focused on developing players for the AHL, they're just gonna be there to just compete and play hockey and try and win the Carl Cup every year, which the Wolves have learned. One from this season, that's not always gonna be a possibility. Then, is there really a place for the Wolves left in the league? But where could the Wolves go? Because I'm guessing the ECHL is probably the next league down from the AHL. I don't know much about it. So unless the Wolves maybe decided, we'll go and create our own league, then it just feels weird. And also, what do the other 31 clubs? What do the other 31 clubs make of this? I would love to see some league reactions. I'd love to see some reaction from some of the other clubs, particularly the ones that are in the Wolves division. I'd love to get some other clubs from the HL's reactions to this, about how do they feel about the Wolves being 100% independent and not tied to an NHL team. I'd love to get the reaction to that. I really would love to see some reaction to that going forward. And maybe we will come the start of next season. So that's going to be great. So I'm not saying the Wolves can't last as an independent club. I'm sure they could do just fine. It just feels like a really, really crazy thing to do, and it's a very big gamble. But given what kind of team the Wolves have been like over the years, especially since the Thrashers relocated to Winnipeg, it's going to be very, very interesting. And of course, what we're going to do about Carolina. Come back up, Stormy! We'll finish it off. Come back up, Stormy. What we going to do about Carolina, eh? What we going to do? It'll be very interesting to see what happens during the summer. I'm hoping that we don't find out until after the Carl Cup playoffs, because like I said, I want to focus on the Carl Cup playoffs, but if we get any news during that, then fair dues. Because the Hurricanes, they are exploring their options for next season. So, it looks like the Hurricanes do want an AHL partnership. The question is, what are you going to do to get that? And what are you going to do for the short term? So, yeah. As we said, there are three options. Shall we run through the three options one more time before we go to it? Yeah. So, there are three options. Option 1 is get an expansion franchise, but that seems to be the unlikeliest option and the unrealistic option, because I can't see the league adding a 33rd franchise in just for the sake because Carolina can't get its house in order. I just can't see that happening. That's the first option. That's the unrealistic option. Option 2 is the Hurricanes, at least for next season, while I try to explore their options, enter a dual partnership with a current affiliation in the league. That's the more likely option. The question is who. And then the third option is the Hurricanes go without an AHL team. But that seems to be probably the not really advisable option. So there's three options there for Carolina to mull over during the summer. And yes, watch this space. We'll see what happens, Stormy. Yeah, we'll see. We will see what happens. But for today, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much for joining today's show. If you've loved it, do click the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would ask about when content came episodes are to bits. You can read about content. My official YouTube channel is at Jordan Han. And don't forget to listen and subscribe to the Triple Podcast Educator Podcast. We have a brand new season every month during the season. You can also get in touch with the show by triplepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And next, all I say is goodbye from Stormy. Bye bye, darling. Always going. Off you go. Bye bye. From me until next time, all I say is, and so I'll leave you now.